Hi there everybody, I'm Fred Thomas and you are watching All Things Bike, and today we are speaking with Angelica Dixon, cycling photographer, and Travis Dixon, a rider for Downeast Racing. Angelica, Travis, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Welcome back, I should say.
Yes,
Angelica.
thank you again.
It's great to have you down here, and you have both had such an incredible cyclocross season. I mean, how many races? Give us an overview.
Did you count it
It's
up?
a good 20, yeah.
20 races
yeah,
in 20. Cyclocross?
Just cross, yeah. It's 18 to 20, something like that we did, yeah.
I think there were a couple of weekends where we either stayed home or had company in town, otherwise every weekend.
And you travel, and then you spend the weekend at the location, or is it sort of out and back? Or does it depend?
This year, much of the time we actually traveled, spent the night. A lot of the races were 2 days, which was great. So we'd book it down. Most of them were in Mass. Get a hotel, race, watch, take photos.
Yeah.
Process the photos at night, do it again on Sunday.
That's great. It's highly productive, not too far away, and that's great. Well, let's talk about the photography aspect of it. I mean, how is covering cyclocross for a photographer different from road racing or the other disciplines?
Well, I have to say I think it's my new favorite little niche in the cycling world to photograph.
Wonderful.
It is the best spectator sport
really is, yeah.
That you could possibly go to. And this year, being at more races and understanding it a little bit better, and then some of the courses we'd been to the previous year, so being familiar with kind of how some of the races were designed, the layouts. It was nice to be able to know where I wanted to shoot and know which riders were going to be there, the teams that would be represented. So
it got easier in a way.
It did. It did. And I changed up my lenses this year, just kind of knowing what I wanted to shoot, how I wanted to shoot, and just had a really good time. Had some good opportunities that came up to shoot for a couple of races for the race directors.
Designated photographer.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I was asked by Adam Sykes to shoot Really Rad Cross. Their race was actually elevated in ranking this year, and they wanted to make sure they had good coverage.
Plenty of pictures, yeah.
Yep, so we went to that.
And that was 2 days.
That was 2 days. We had a great time. It's a really fun race.
Where was this one? This is Really Rad. Where is it?
It's in Falmouth, Mass, which is on the Cape, just over onto the Cape.
Yeah.
And there's another race going on that same weekend, which kind of competes with where riders are going, but they had a great turnout.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone is in the area.
Yep, and the race director, Adam's really well known and respected in the community, and I think a lot of riders and teams really come out to support him and kind of that little community he has going around that race. So
good deal.
We had a really good time just shooting for fun, for the race, to promote it, meeting riders. And
what were some of the reactions when you put up these 100+ images on your Facebook page? I mean, what kind of response do you get?
I think it's an opportunity. I'm told it's an opportunity for people to kind of relive the race Monday morning or Sunday morning. They get to get online and see, oh yeah, that spot was hairy, or that spot was, or this part of the race, we were just dying, or yeah, that was my bike throw that did this, or yeah, thanks for the cookie hand up kind of thing. It's a nice way to. I think when you're in the race, and you can probably speak to it a little bit better, I think it's so intense for such a short period of time. Sometimes I think people forget just how complicated some of the courses are and how challenging they are. So it's nice the photographs kind of let them relive
That's right.
Some of the event itself.
That's right. I mean, we see some of the pictures you have is Travis, for example, sort of, zipping around a corner with a sort of a very focused look on his face, or someone else plunging down a hill and they're completely focused on the road ahead, but they have no recollection no recollection of the moment, or no sort of perspective on it, and it's actually it's a very dramatic moment, and you capture it very well. And the other, you mentioned that all the races are are your new favorite. They're fun. I mean, describe the atmosphere a little bit and what's going on, because not everybody really knows that cyclocross races are, they're not, that they're fun.
Yeah. Well, they're far more laid back in regards to the scene around the race than you would see, say, like at a road race. But I think part of that is because families and the spectators come and they hang out all day, and a lot of spectators will hang out from the beginning of the day before the first race takes off till the pros wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
Where I think at a road race, you're kind of stuck to maybe one location, and you might see the riders twice, maybe 3 times if you're lucky.
5 hours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you really don't have an idea of what's going on in the race. So it's really interesting, like when I tell people what we do on the weekends, that he's racing and I'm taking pictures. As soon as I say cyclocross, most people don't really understand what that even is. And so I try to tell them, imagine taking a road bike and putting different tires on it and then going and riding over any terrain you can possibly imagine, whether it be sand, rocks, roots. You're dismounting and remounting and the hurdles. And then, of course, because it's all in a more of an enclosed area, you've got spectators that can, and we do it for sure, will run from one end of the course to the other to be able to see, every few minutes of the race and really get into watching, their team or their riders that they're supporting. Or
because you can do that. You just run or walk right across the field, and boom, there you go. Now, is there a dynamic that happens between the two of you? You're taking pictures of everybody, but then here comes Travis, and okay, I better get one of my husband, and then
typically
vice
no.
versa.
So
or do you see her? Do you notice her when she's in there with the camera? No.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Where's Waldo scene. And I'll actually, now this being the 2nd year shooting cyclocross consistently, I'll have
at least
third, going on the 3rd. This was the most intense for sure, but riders are now hollering out, like they spotted me, because I'm usually in a bush or in a ditch or
right
in some odd place.
In the corner,
I'm going for trying to catch the element in the scene that they're in, but sometimes that means getting into some really funny spots. So there's some of that.
Your tactics are you still have tactics and tricks, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so I'm always torn whenever I see him, when I'm watching him racing. I'm always torn between watching him versus watching him through a little viewfinder on my camera, and I'm always torn. So ironically, half the photos I get of him are completely out of focus or blurred or So
go Travis.
So my gear was old. I had to update it just as the season started. So this year actually was better. I actually had more photos of him in focus. And I was able to just go to the race with the mentality of like, I'm going to shoot everybody, and if Travis happens to be in it, great. But
hey, we'll talk about your gear very briefly before we switch over to the minutia of cyclocross. You got new cameras, and is it Nikon or Canon? I can't remember.
It's Canon.
Okay. Oh, you're a Canon person, right?
Yeah, I like Canon.
Good.
It's user-friendly for sure.
Yeah, great.
So I use a 7D, and I just got a newer model. So a little bit faster, a little bit sharper.
Wow.
And I needed it. My other camera, the dials were starting to just kind of get stuck, and you could just hear all the components really struggling.
Because you've taken thousands of pictures with it, right?
Yeah, and they do have a lifespan, and I clearly wore it out. I actually shot up in Vermont at Green Mountain.
Oh yeah.
And I reached out to the race director and asked if he wanted a race photographer, and we set something up. And he had just got the new 7D and he let me hold it for I don't know, 5 minutes at the crit stage. And it was really hard to give it back. I mean, it was just it would fire shots so fast.
That's great. That's great. It sort of helped you make up your mind, and you can tell. I mean, the images that we're going to go through in a minute are very sharp, and that's great. I mean, the amount of time you spend taking pictures is worthy of a great tool. So,
and it's an inexpensive camera body.
Right.
You know, for someone who's an enthusiast but wants to take good photos so that, or higher quality photos so that I have more flexibility in what I can do with them. And then one of my long zoom lenses I had to update. It was, I was the second owner of this lens. I'd bought it used, and
no, well, it makes
it was time.
Yeah, perfect. You know, and you're going to be taking more pictures next year. And well, let's change gears quickly and just explain. I mean, we got the overview on cyclocross a little bit, but from your perspective, Travis, I mean, why do you like cyclocross so much?
It's it just seems to be a great crossroads between like the skill level, like on a trail, like mountain bikers come in and do it, road cyclists come in and do it, and it's just this great kind of cross-section for people to meet, and you can see their the different courses will favor certain skill type or certain sections of a course, you know, and you know, in each discipline, you know, separate from cyclocross, each discipline brings its own thing to it, and you're lacking in certain components as well. So it's very interesting racing. This is the really, I guess it's 2.5 years you're doing it. So
you've had a great season. I mean, I mean, you're at the top of the rankings in the 50+.
Quite fortunate,
series. That's great.
Things went well, and learned a lot, and just tried to keep the mind open to that. Every race and it was an opportunity to learn. Yeah,
and how does it, explain how it works? I mean, if you start, like whenever I start a cyclocross race, I'm always the last guy to be called up, and then so
there's a point
I'm the last
system.
Guy to finish.
No, that's fine. And that makes a huge difference. So you know, you kind of you work your way through that group that you're racing in, that peloton, and so the point system is based off of obviously the races that you just had, the people around you, and they created a handicap system similar to ski racing. Alpine uses a similar format.
Right, so the more you turn up, and you keep turning up, and you finish, and some other guy who just didn't turn up or finish behind you, that moves you up, I guess. Yeah,
and you know, you can keep showing up, and if you're staying, you're racing, and you're finishing around the same spots, you're going to stay there. If you've done better, and you know, that's a way to advance. And so as you get closer to the front on the start grid, then you have a better opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, I noticed that at Casco Bay, and you know, these guys were gone down the road in a moment, and then by the time I got to whatever that turnaround, the race had begun, or there were 2 races. How about something more, you know, on the more technical thing? I've never really understood it. This whole business of the PSI in your tires. You don't want them to be too hard or too much air in them, and you don't want them to be too soft. Casco Bay, were you running a low PSI?
So I run a tubeless tire, and I can run for that course I was running. Front was about 23, 24.
Wow.
And rear tires around 25.
So I mean, it's pretty. It feels like a flat tire if it's on a road bike.
Yep. And essentially, you want to be able to run a tire that you're almost flattening it out on the roughest sections, and you just get the most grip.
Right.
You know, you're limited by tire width per UCI
33
regulations.
Right,
33. And so within that, you have all these different tire profiles and all of that. You know, there's clincher, tubular, and tubeless, and they all bring different things to the table. I try to keep it nice and simple.
Yeah, good. Yeah, and just to, I don't want to put Angelica to sleep here with
hardcore bike. No, I can listen to him geek out about it all day.
No, good, great. No, you're on the right show.
Right, we're talking bikes.
Yeah, exactly. But then, I mean, are you running disc brakes on?
Yes, disc brakes. And so I upgraded the season prior, and for cross, it just makes
it does make a difference.
Huge difference. You know, in dry conditions, I think I don't think there's really much of a difference, but certainly when it gets a little, you know, rainy, muddy, snowy, makes a big difference. And then I actually went to an electronic system too.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, which again was just absolutely.
I can believe that. I mean, I have single speed, and that's great and all that, but you know, sometimes it becomes very difficult to change the gear. I mean,
and I found it with you know, as you go deeper into the season, the temperature goes down.
Oh yeah, of course.
And so that just made a huge difference.
Right on. Well, that's great. Well, what are the plans for 2018? Photography and
more
racing?
Fun.
Yeah, we haven't set anything up yet, but really just we want to try and hit as much as we can, but keep it balanced with everything else.
Sure, yeah.
But for sure as full of a cyclocross season as we can.
Right.
It's really fun. We've met some amazing people, both that put on the races, attend the races, and it's really nice to see friends that have that same passion every weekend.
Great.
So
and it's been interesting to as you meet more people and you learn just how long these guys have been racing together.
Right.
And,
it's true,
and the history of the races themselves, the culture that's so embedded in it.
Yeah.
It's very unique, and it's totally of its own thing. It's very interesting to be part of.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it becomes your network of friends, and it just it becomes your life and your distraction, and gets you out of the house.
That's right.
It does do that.
Yeah, it forces us to do a little more sightseeing than we probably would do.
Yeah, exactly. You're very familiar with the region. You've probably seen a lot more of it than you would have if you hadn't been doing anything else.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, thanks so much for giving us that overview, and we will go through some of your pictures next. And don't go away. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching. Be sure to take a look at a separate video that we have of the top 25 or so images that Angelica did for the cyclocross season. And if you want to know more about Downeast Racing, which is the team Travis is on, you can find out about that on Facebook. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you again soon.
All Things Bike with Fred Thomas is brought to you by Zentis, performance carbon wheels handmade in Austria for road and off-road riding. Zentis, next generation wheels. And Frame and Wheel eBay bike selling services. Time, space, cash. Pick 3. And AD Bikes, the modern face of Austro-Daimler cycling and the bike company of the future.